All right, let's get into it. Today, we are cracking open one of the most legendary books on success ever written, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. For well over 80 years, this book has been the go-to blueprint for achievement, and we're going to break down its core philosophy piece by piece. It all kicks off with one incredibly powerful idea.
Just let that sink in for a second. This single sentence, this is the secret key to the entire book. It's the whole idea hidden in plain sight. Hill isn't talking about wishful thinking here. He's talking about a real, tangible, powerful force that's sitting inside our own minds. A force that's way more valuable than any pile of gold you could ever dig up.
To really drive this home, Hill tells the story of a guy named 𝗺𝗻𝗋𝗄's uncle. He gets gold fever, finds a huge vein of ore, but then it just disappears. So what does he do? He quits. Sells all his machinery to a junk man for a few $100. Well, that junk man was smart. He hired an engineer who figured out the vein was only 3 feet from where Darby's uncle had stopped drilling. 3 feet! The lesson is kind of brutal, but it's crystal clear. The biggest fortunes aren't lost to failure. They're lost because people quit right before the big breakthrough. Persistence is literally everything.
So, where does this whole journey begin? Hill is super clear about this. It doesn't start with a casual wish or a vague hope. It has to start with a burning desire. And we're not just talking about wanting something. This is an all-consuming obsession, a definite purpose that you focus your entire mind on. And this isn't some fuzzy self-help talk. It is a precise 6-step formula. Notice a theme here, the word definite. No fuzzy goals allowed. You have to know the exact amount of money, what you'll give for it, the specific date you'll have it, and the plan to get there. Then you write it all down and read it out loud twice a day. This is how you start to literally program your subconscious mind for success. It's the first practical step to turning a thought into a thing. Okay, so once you've set that super specific goal, the next phase is all about conditioning your mind. You've got the what, and now you need to build the unwavering mental state to actually go get it. This is where you start building that mental blueprint.
The next key ingredient is faith. But here's the thing. Hill defines faith not as some mystical hope, but as absolute conviction. It's a state of mind that you actively create. You don't just sit around and wait for it to show up. You build it piece by piece by repeatedly telling your subconscious mind exactly what to believe.
So how do you build that faith? You use something called auto-suggestion. The best way to think about this is like it's the control panel for your brain. It's the tool you use to deliberately feed your subconscious mind with your burning desire. By repeating your written statement over and over, you're choosing to plant thoughts of success and belief, which eventually crowds out all those seeds of fear and doubt.
You know, Hill had this totally revolutionary way of looking at knowledge. He says the general knowledge, the stuff you cram for in school, is basically useless on its own. Real power comes from specialized knowledge that you organize and apply to a specific goal. He famously defended Henry Ford, who was once called ignorant, in court. Ford's response was brilliant. He said he had a row of buttons on his desk and could call on an expert to answer any question he had. He didn't need to clog up his brain with facts, he just needed to know where to get them.
And that story perfectly sets up the next principle, the mastermind. Look, nobody achieves massive success alone. The mastermind idea is all about teaming up with people who are all working in total harmony toward the same goal. It's like this alliance creates a third invisible mind, a source of energy and knowledge that's way more powerful than any one person could ever be.
Okay, so you've got the desire, you've conditioned your mind, you've got your knowledge and your team. Now it's time to go from the internal blueprint to the external reality. This is where the rubber finally meets the road.
I mean, how powerful is that? This quote just perfectly captures the mindset you need. It's about taking total, complete ownership. When you succeed, you don't have to explain anything, and when you stumble, making excuses is a waste of time. The focus is always on the plan and the action, not on what other people think or trying to justify why something didn't work.
Your success can only be as strong as your plan is. Simple as that. This is the part where you take all that mental work and turn it into a series of actual steps. And the most important instruction here? Begin it once. Don't wait for the perfect time because, let's be real, it's never going to be perfect. You start right where you are, with whatever you have, right now.
So as you start acting on your plan, you're going to face this constant choice between two different paths. On one side, you have indecision, which Hill calls the #1 cause of failure. It's rooted in fear. It leads to procrastination. On the other side, persistence. And persistence isn't something you're just born with. It's a habit you build. It's that sustained effort that keeps your faith alive even when you run into that temporary defeat we talked about earlier.
And to make this super clear, Hill tells this fantastic little story. 𝗺𝗻𝗲𝗏, the same guy from the gold mine, watched his little girl demand 50 cents from his really hot-tempered uncle. The uncle is screaming, he's threatening her, but the child just stands there and says, "My mammy's got to have that 50 cents. And in the end, her pure, unshakable will just broke the grown man down. She just refused to take no for an answer. Now that is persistence.
So, you've got the desire, the plan, and the persistence. You're feeling pretty unstoppable, right? But there is one major enemy that can completely sabotage this entire process from the inside out. So what do you think it is?
The enemy isn't the economy. It's not your competition, and it's definitely not bad luck. According to Hill, the biggest obstacles we face are the 6 basic fears, these ghosts in our mind that paralyze our will and kill our ambition before we even have a chance to get started.
And here they are, the 6 fears that pretty much haunt all of humanity: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Hill says that almost every negative thought you can possibly have can be traced back to one of these 6. To win, you have to recognize them, understand them, and then master them. Of all these fears, Hill points to the fear of poverty as the absolute most destructive. Why? Because it attacks the very foundation of this entire philosophy. It freezes your ability to reason, it kills your imagination, and it makes self-control totally impossible. It's the polar opposite of the faith-filled, definite mindset that you need to achieve anything great.
And that brings us to the most crucial point of all. You can't control the world outside, but you have absolute, total control over your own mind. You can choose to point it toward the riches you desire, or you can let fear and indecision take the wheel, which will always lead to poverty. That choice, it's yours and yours alone.
Hill wraps this all up with this powerful poem that just perfectly summarizes the whole idea. If you think you are beaten, you are. Victory and defeat aren't things that happen to you, they're internal conditions that start with your will. It really, truly is all in your state of mind.
And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway, the bottom line of this entire blueprint. It's not about being the strongest or the fastest or the smartest. Sooner or later, the person who wins is the person who truly, deeply, and unshakably believes that they can.
So as we wrap this up, I'm going to leave you with one final question. Every single principle we've talked about, from desire and faith to planning and persistence, it all comes back to controlling your thoughts. So, what definite purpose, what burning desire, what empowering thought are you willing to hold in your mind until it becomes your reality?